Live life like today will be your last. Episode 187. Are you ready to make your law firm a profit-generating machine that will free up your time and skyrocket your impact? With more than 2 decades of business growth experience and having proven that you can be successful while prioritizing your family and your impact, introducing the Profit with Law podcast. I am your host, the creator of the Firm Differentiator 10X Effect, Moshe Amsel. Well, hello and welcome to another episode on the Profit with Law podcast. I'm your host, Moshe Amsel, and today I want to talk to you about a topic that has been coming up over and over again with my coaching clients, with people in my group, and Facebook posts, the different places where this has been coming up, and I think it's time to have a discussion about it. Now, this is going to be an episode where I share some of my personal story. I share some things that I have learned from my own experiences, but I'm also going to share with you some things that I have not mastered. This is still a work in progress, but I think that it is going to be helpful to some of you, and I think it's something that needs to be brought out into the open. I think it's something that needs to be discussed. So strap in your seatbelts and join me for this ride, and we're going to embark on a journey together. But first, let me just share some words from our sponsors, and I'll jump into this episode. Let me share an exciting tool that I recently came across that is a game changer for law firms that bill hourly or by the project, otherwise known as flat fee billing. The 2020 Legal Trends Report published by Clio rates how important various items are in a client choosing your firm. You may be surprised to know that the third most important decision factor for someone choosing a lawyer is the ability to pay with a payment plan. The challenge that law firm owners face is the risk of a client not making good on that payment plan. Most attorneys don't offer payment plans because of that. The problem is now solved with LawFunder. LawFunder allows you to easily add a payment option to all your client invoices and retainer replenishment requests that does not require credit checks, applications, or any other complex process. The client's able to use their existing credit cards, allowing them to earn points and miles, access credit card specials on interest rates, and any other tools they use to manage their cash. When I saw this tool, I was blown away. Most importantly, it removes all the risk from the law firm and makes an easy and painless process to the payment process. So if you want to check off the box on one of the top factors in new client decisions, if you want to decrease your accounts receivable and get paid immediately, LawFunder is the solution. Go to lawfunder.com. That's lawfundar.com/profitwithlaw to learn more. This podcast episode is sponsored by Noda, powered by M&T Bank. You went to law school to be a lawyer, not an accountant. Take advantage of Noda, a no-cost IOLTA management tool that helps solo and small law firms track client funds down to the penny. Enjoy peace of mind with one-click reconciliation, automated transaction alerts, and real-time bank data. Visit trustnoda.com to learn more. Terms and conditions may apply. This podcast episode is sponsored by Legalese Marketing. No buzzwords, no jargon, no BS, just results to make your law firm grow. That's Legalese Marketing. Legalese Marketing is a full-service marketing agency for lawyers by legal experts and digital advertising specialists. Their goal? To help your firm stand out in a competitive marketplace with personalized solutions to help your law firm attract the clients you want, backed by the systems to make it all work correctly. Visit profitwithlaw.com/legalese to learn more. All right, we are back. So the topic is as follows. When we embark on our journey with our law firm or whatever it is that we're doing, really, we tend to get into this loop of thinking that success is going to allow us to do the things that we want to do. And this is what I hear from people when I am coaching them, when I am having conversations with them. They talk about the things that they want, whether it be I want to spend time with my family, or I want to have my dream home, or I want to eat healthy, or I want to exercise. All of the things that we want to do, we have this notion or this idea that one day, when we have achieved success to a certain extent, we have been able to get other people to do our job, we have money coming in that are paying the bills, that is when we will finally be able to dedicate an hour a day to exercise. That is when we will finally be able to prioritize time with our family. That is when we are going to be able to make things happen that we've always wanted, but we've been delaying or putting off. So let me share with you the backstory. So I got married at 19 years old, and I was always on this fast track to success. For some reason, I was under the impression or this assumption that life was some kind of race. Some of it was my personality, and some of it was just me being naive. So I had this vision of being retired at the age of 40 or 45, and I wanted to do everything early. I wanted to have kids early. So by the time I'm 45, they're all out of the house. I wanted to get an early start on my retirement so that I would have plenty of money put away so that I could retire at 45. And in the process of doing that in my early years, I worked really, really hard to achieve a certain level of success. And I operated with this modus operandi of, when I get to this point, things will be different. And I was earning $100,000 a year in salary by the time that I was 23 years old. I was a homeowner by the time I was 20, 21, 22, somewhere in that range. And I'm not saying these things to toot my horn. I'm not saying these things to brag, because honestly, I had my first kid when I was 19. And a lot of the things that I achieved or accomplished were almost not just because of my plan, my life plan design, which was flawed, but also because of necessity. As my responsibilities grew, I was kind of forced or encouraged to be more aggressive, to take bigger jumps and leaps in my career path and in my ability to get paid significantly more money. Now, $100,000 a year is not a lot in the area that I live in, especially when my wife was a stay-at-home mom. My wife at the time is now my ex-wife, was a stay-at-home mom, and I found that no matter how much I was earning, there was always more bill at the end of the month, right? There was always things that we came up with that seemed like a necessity, and we were using up the money that I was earning. And before I knew it, I was working a second job on the Sundays, and I was starting my own business on the side and doing freelance work to try to bring in extra money. There was always different gimmicks, different plans, different things to try to get ahead, to try to make things work. But what didn't happen along the way was me taking care of myself, prioritizing exercise, prioritizing personal development, prioritizing time with my kids, time with my wife at the time. Now, I'm not saying that I was an absentee father or an absentee husband. That's not the case. I was very much involved, but they were not the priority. My work was the priority. Whether it's hard to admit it here behind a microphone and tell it to you. It's almost like I'm sharing my flaws, which I guess I am. But the reality is that I didn't see it that way. In the moment, I didn't see it that way because everything I was doing for them. I wasn't doing it for me. I wasn't giving up on all those things so that I could work more. I was working more so that they could have a better life, so that we together could achieve this beautiful dream of what I envisioned my future looked like. But in the context of trying to achieve the future, I was giving up on the present. I was missing the present. And this was something when I went through my divorce in 2006, and I started to evaluate my entire life. I reevaluated everything: my religious beliefs, my relationship with my kids, the work that I was doing, the career path that I was on. All of those things came under the microscope during that time frame after I got divorced, because it really gave me an opportunity to take a breath, take a step back, and to look at what journey I was on and course correct if I wanted to. And I strongly encourage each of you to, instead of waiting for some massive life event to force you to do that inner work and to look and see and make sure that you're on the right track, I encourage you to actually make time to do that on your own and not have to be forced into that situation, because often that major life event is not a desirable one. And we would much rather not have to go through that. And often that life event is a cause of the fact that we haven't done this deep dive. But that is a whole nother topic. So what happens is that in the name of achieving this great beyond that we want, this amazing life that we want, we tend to give up on the here and now. We tend to miss the opportunities here and now. And I will tell you that's one of the things that I have learned, and this law is what we use in the basis of the profit first system for cash management. This is used a lot in time management, but if you understand and embrace this rule, this law, it's called Parkinson's law, and if you embrace it and really, really understand what it means, it will absolutely change the way that you look at everything that you do. Let me share an exciting tool that I recently came across that is a game changer for law firms that bill hourly or by the project, otherwise known as flat fee billing. The 2020 Legal Trends Report published by Clio rates how important various items are in a client choosing your firm. You may be surprised to know that the third most important decision factor for someone choosing a lawyer is the ability to pay with a payment plan. The challenge that law firm owners face is the risk of a client not making good on that payment plan. Most attorneys don't offer payment plans because of that. The problem is now solved with LawFunder. LawFunder allows you to easily add a payment option to all your client invoices and retainer replenishment requests that does not require credit checks, applications, or any other complex process. The client's able to use their existing credit cards, allowing them to earn points and miles, access credit card specials on interest rates, and any other tools they use to manage their cash. When I saw this tool, I was blown away. Most importantly, it removes all the risk from the law firm and makes an easy and painless process to the payment process. So if you want to check off the box on one of the top factors in new client decisions, if you want to decrease your accounts receivable and get paid immediately, LawFunder is the solution. Go to lawfunder.com. That's lawfundar.com/profitwithlaw to learn more. No buzzwords, no jargon, no BS, just results to make your law firm grow. That's Legalese Marketing. Legalese Marketing is a full-service marketing agency for lawyers by legal experts and digital advertising specialists. Their goal? To help your firm stand out in a competitive marketplace with personalized solutions to help your law firm attract the clients you want, backed by the systems to make it all work correctly. Visit profitwithlaw.com/legalese to learn more. You went to law school to be a lawyer, not an accountant. Take advantage of Nota, a no-cost IOLTA management tool that helps solo and small law firms track client funds down to the penny. Enjoy peace of mind with one-click reconciliation, automated transaction alerts, and real-time bank data. Visit trustnota.com to learn more. Terms and conditions may apply. Now, Parkinson's law dictates basically when you're presented with a resource, with a finite resource, your demands for consumption of that resource are going to fill that entire resource. So in other words, if you have $100,000 of income, you're going to have needs, expenses that are going to fill that full $100,000, which is why they say that you should pay yourself first. You should save first, right? Put money into savings first. Why? Because if you don't, there won't be any money left at the end to save. And that's why Profit First has you allocate money that comes in into different bank accounts so that you're only spending money from the operating account, because if all the money is in one account, you're going to spend all the money that's there, often spending money that you don't actually have because you owe it to the tax man, because you need to pay yourself, because, right? So Parkinson's law can be used the other way around. Parkinson's law can be used for you to understand that if you force something into a smaller container, you will still accomplish that thing, and you will accomplish it differently. So how does this work? Well, if you want to spend an hour a day exercising, don't push it off for when eventually I have an hour a day. You will never have that hour a day. It will never happen. When you're earning $1 million, you're still going to have things that come up in your new life at $1 million annually of income, and you will still have all these things that are higher priority over you exercising an hour a day. If you think that spending time with your children or spending time with your spouse or significant other or loved one is of utmost importance, and the time that you get to do that is in the morning or is in the evening, then start your day later. End your day earlier. Put some boundaries on work now. Now you're going to say, well, I can't because I need to do all this work in order to succeed, or I don't have people to hire and all this work is mounting up and I'm not getting to it, so I'm doing it at night. And here's what I'm going to share with you. Have you ever stopped to consider the fact that the reason that you have so much work to do in the evening is because you are allowing yourself to do work in the evening? I'm going to say that again. Have you ever stopped to consider that the reason that you have so much work to do in the evening or on weekends or whatever the time is that you technically should not be doing work? Have you ever considered that the reason you're working then is because you allow yourself to be able to work then? Let me prove to you that I'm right. You sleep every night, yes? What would happen if you don't sleep every night? Eventually, you would have to sleep, right? Sleep is not something that's optional. Now, the quantity or the amount of sleep is, and that's why some people are sleep deprived, because they manage to get by on 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours a night. And therefore, they say, okay, if I could get by on 4 or 5 or 6 hours a night, then I'm not going to sleep 8 hours because I'm going to do these other things, right? It's prioritization. But what happens is, why aren't you working all night long? Why don't you work every single night, all night long? If all this work needs to get done, why aren't you staying up and working? Because you can't, because you have to sleep. Or there's only 168 hours in a week. Why aren't you working 200 hours a week? You can't, because there's only 168 hours in a week. So if you force yourself into a smaller box of time and you say, I am only going to work during these times, and it doesn't matter what times it is. Now, yes, I understand if you say I'm only going to work 2 hours a week, it is nearly impossible to get 40 hours worth of work done in 2 hours. I get that. And that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that you can do 40 hours of work in what is currently taking you 60 hours. If you told yourself, I have these boundaries and I am only going to work, and I'm going to use the world's definition, right? I'm going to work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, which is 40 hours. I hate that. I think it's wrong, and we can talk about that maybe in another episode. Maybe we'll talk about it today. But let's just use that 9 to 5, 5 days a week, 40 hours. If I put firm boundaries on that and say I am not starting to work, I'm not looking at my email, I'm not answering phone calls, I'm not doing anything until 9 a.m. And up until then, I am feeding my kids. I am taking them to school. I am spending time with my spouse or significant other. I'm going out for a run, for a bike ride, whatever it is that you want to fill your morning with. If you decide that's what you're going to do, and I'm only starting work at 9, and at 5 o'clock, by hook or by crook, no matter what, I close my doors. I shut down. I shut my computer. I am done. I don't answer another email or phone call till the next day. If you create that level of boundary, I guarantee you will find a way to get the work that you need to get done, the most important work, the work that cannot be pushed off within those 40 hours a week. And if you can't, you will find a way to get it done anyway, because you will be forced to hire somebody. And guess what? Sometimes, most of the time, we wait too long to hire somebody. So we kill ourselves for weeks or years working these crazy hours until we finally give in and hire somebody. And then 3 months later, when they're finally working productively and doing what they're supposed to, and we have finally lifted some of that work off of our plate, we suddenly say, why the heck did I not do this 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 months ago? Folks, life is moving by every single day. If you want me to put it a different way, I'll put it a different way. You do not have a guarantee to live to 60, 70, 80 years old. Today could be your last. Tomorrow could be your last. Now, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, because I am full of optimism, and I believe that every person will live a full and complete life. But the reality is, I'm a paramedic, and I have seen many, many people die way before they were supposed to. Young ages, whether kids, teenagers, young adults, middle-aged, old, all ages. I have witnessed death at every age. And I will tell you that not one of those people thought, today I'm going to die. When it was an abrupt death, whether it was a sudden heart attack or whether it was a massive car accident, whatever the cause was, not one of those people thought when they woke up in the morning, today will be my last. And if you don't take advantage of the days that you have right now, you may never get the opportunity for the someday. And we need to always evaluate all the things that we want to do and say, how important is this on my list of things? How important is this thing? If this is of utmost importance to me, if me being healthy is of utmost importance, if me spending time with my kids or time with my spouse or significant other is of utmost importance, then why do I allow myself to cheat them out of that time and cheat myself out of that time by prioritizing something else that is not of utmost importance? Making a livelihood is actually not the most important thing. Believe it or not, there are people who survive that make less than you. And there are people who survive that make more than you. No matter what your income, there is somebody that you can look to as an example and say, if they can do it, I can do it. Striving to do better, striving to make more money, striving to do those things, those are really great things to do. But not at the cost of saying, someday I will be able to do X, Y, Z. Don't push off these things to someday. Start embracing them today. And you know what? I'm flipping this around the other way. When you start to prioritize those other things, it is going to make you a better business owner. It's going to make you more successful, because it is going to force you to make decisions that you wouldn't have made otherwise. It's going to force you to think about, maybe I'm not charging enough. I need to charge more because I'm working and I don't have capacity to increase my hours. So I need to charge more for the work that I'm doing. Or I need to find a better system to handle the things that are not bringing in revenue so that I can spend more time on revenue generating activities. Or I need to bring on staff because that's the only way for me to expand my hours. All of the good business decisions you should be making anyway, you're going to be forced to make when you start to make better decisions about how you choose to live your life today. So if there's one message that I can share with you on this podcast, it's start living in the here and now. Start to enjoy the moment. Now, why am I equipped and why am I able to stand here and talk to you about this? Not because I have mastered this. I haven't. I still struggle with exercise. Even though I know it's important, even though I want to do it, I still struggle with making time to exercise every day. But I don't struggle with making time for my kids and for my wife, and I prioritize that above everything else most of the time. I definitely also have my pitfalls, have my downfalls. I have times that I fail at doing that, but most of the time I succeed. And it's not because I'm amazing and I'm great. It's because I have learned this lesson the hard way. It's because I have gone through this and I have realized that there is a better way. And when I set out to start the business I'm in right now, the business of supporting you, what makes me able to stand here behind the microphone and create a podcast, this business that I have, I started this business knowing that I wanted to make sure that I did not sacrifice the future that I wanted in the process of creating this business. And you know what that meant? That meant that I grew more slowly. What might have taken somebody else 2 years to achieve took me 5. What might have taken somebody else a few months to achieve took me a year or 2. And I am okay with that because I'm not in a rush, because this is not a race. Because if I get to prioritize the things that are most important to me in the here and now, and I get to live it and enjoy it right now, then I've already won. I've already accomplished what I set out to accomplish. And that is the most beautiful part of being a business owner, is you get to set your own hours. You get to make your own boundaries. You get to decide how much you're going to work, how little you're going to work. Only you make that decision. There is nobody above you. There's no boss. There's nobody telling you that this is how you need to do it. So guess what? You don't have to work 9 to 5. You can decide that you're starting work at 11 a.m. and you can enjoy your morning, go to the gym, hang out with friends, whatever it is that you want to do, and you can start work at 11. And you know what? You can shut down at 3 o'clock. And you know what? You can also work from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. if that's what you want to do. You are the boss. You get to decide. You set your own hours. There are studies that have been done, and I don't have the study in front of me, so I cannot quote it, but I will tell you that I read a study that demonstrated that peak productivity for us and for working and work productivity, peak productivity is 24 hours a week. Now, it's hard for you to wrap your head around this, especially as an attorney where you bill by the hour. Okay, hopefully if you've been listening to this podcast long enough, or if you heard from somebody else and you adopted another alternative fee arrangement, hopefully you're not billing by the hour anymore. But even if you are, understand that peak productivity happens 24 hours a week, which means that when we're trying to work 40 hours, we're significantly less productive than somebody who's only working 24. When we try to work 60 hours, 80 hours, those hours are not even productive hours. There is so much wasted time because our brain simply cannot focus for that long. We cannot stay on task for that long, or we are totally mismanaging the time that we're working. We're totally mismanaging our brain power, and we're not batching our tasks. We're not doing things that are decreasing the context switching of our brains. These are all concepts that I've either spoken about on the podcast or will speak about in the future. But the bottom line is that if you decide, this is all about making a decision. And that's what's the most, really, really the most awesome part of this whole thing, is that you get to control this simply by making a decision. If you decide that you are going to prioritize other things in your life and just make yourself a schedule. Make yourself a schedule. If you want to go bike riding or you want to go swimming or hey, I competed in a triathlon, a sprint triathlon, in October of 2019, was it? October of 2019. I competed in a sprint triathlon. I decided in August of 2019 that I was going to compete in the triathlon. So I had 8 weeks to prepare for it. And I went through this 8-week training plan, and it had me exercise 6 days a week. 2 days bike, 2 days running, 2 days swimming. And it was this rigorous program it actually was, I think it was 7 days a week, but one day was lighter. I don't remember. I don't have the plan in front of me, but it was something like that. But I had to dedicate a solid hour plus every day to exercise, whether it was preparing, going, doing, cooling down, showering. It was closer to 2 hours a day by the time you put all the prep and post into it. But for those 2 months, that was the priority for me. For those 2 months, that was something I was working towards, and no matter what, I was going to get those done. So it was either one of the first things I did in the beginning of the day, or it was one of the last things I did, and I carved out time for it, and I planned for it. You can do that too. And all it takes is some planning, some thought going into it, and some belief. Believing that if you decrease the amount of time available to work, you will ultimately make better decisions in the running of your law firm. And that's how I'm going to leave it with you, because there is a lot that can go into, okay, so now that I've embraced this, how do I go about and do that? And that'll be, I guess, another podcast episode that we'll do. But what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to really think about what are the things that you are saying, one day I will do this. And I'm not talking about buying a bigger house that you can't afford today and just go out and buy it because you should be living today for the here and now. But I'm talking about those things that you're never going to get back. Those things that are going to take time. And if you don't do them today, today's opportunity for that is lost. Whether it's spending time on a hobby, whether it's exercise, whether it's hanging out with friends, spending time with family, whatever those things are for you, start to decide when you're going to do it and how you're going to do it. Be intentional about it so that you don't wake up 10 years, 15 years from now realizing that you've always been working towards being able to get to the point where you can do these things, and now 15 years later, you still haven't done them. Folks, if you enjoyed this episode, please hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed to the show so that you get notified every time we go live. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, and we have got a great interview coming up on Thursday. I think this coming Thursday is going to be a international guest. Leave the intrigue in there, an international guest. Stay tuned, check it out, and I'd love your feedback. Come into the Law Firm Growth Summit Facebook group and let me know what you thought about this episode. Take care. Have you been enjoying the show? We sure hope so. To make sure you never miss an episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button in your podcast player app. Next week, we will be back with more valuable resources and ideas on how to break the mold and take your law firm to the next level.